just got the call and we are the owners of an expansion franchise in the NFL. We each are going to take alternating turns picking our top 3 head coaches that we would want to run to be our head coach of this organization moving forward. And I guess the real question is do you want to start or do you want me to start?
You came up with the idea, so I'll let you start.
Okay, I think that this is going to be a complete curveball of where somebody would go with their first overall pick. And there's a reason why I like this guy so much, and I will get into that. And who I am taking with my first overall pick, where did he go? Who I am taking, where the hell did this guy just go, man?
It's your number one pick. You shouldn't even have to look.
Sorry. With my first overall pick with the expansion franchise, I am going to be taking Kyle Shanahan. And I know that that might be like there's probably a lot more accomplished guys on this list that people would go for, but he is 82 and 67 since 2017. He is 9-5 in the playoffs. He has 2 NFC championships, 3 NFC West titles, 5 playoff berths. And I think what happened last year was a big step in the right direction for Kyle Shanahan, where in past years, a team that decimated an injury, the injuries at quarterback, I think that in past years, that would have been an opportunity for a Kyle Shanahan led team to crumble. And I feel like he's growing as a leader. I feel like he's growing as a coach. I feel like there's not a better guy in the NFL to dial up a game, honestly, than Kyle Shanahan. And for how successful he's been, to look at the guys that he has had at quarterback, it's been Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. He's never had a top quarterback. I don't think that if you go and look back through some of the drafts that they've had, and we've done this in previous episodes, I think that their drafts have been extremely terrible. He's just really good at getting the most out of these guys. And I think, like I said, last year was one of those seasons for me. And they even went and upset the Philadelphia Eagles in that wild card round with a decimated team. I just think that was a big year for Kyle Shanahan. And if you pair him with, and this might be like a Andy Reid-esque type ascension where Andy Reid finally got Patrick Mahomes and started winning Super Bowls. I think that if you can somehow get Kyle Shanahan, one of the top guys in the league at quarterback, I think the sky's the limit with somebody like him.
I've got absolutely no critiques of that. He was my number 2. And okay. I was fully prepared to take him if you took who I had at number 1. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. You pretty much covered everything else. He's been able to have ridiculous amounts of success with not the best players at quarterback, and he's drastically improved them year in and year out. But with that being said, I'm taking Sean McVay with my first pick. Already has a Super Bowl, 102 and 63 overall record in his 9 seasons, winning as coach in Rams history, has a Coach of the Year award, has not been able to necessarily get it done the last few years, but I still love his coaching abilities. I love what he brings to the table. He has a proven track record of success, and he's going to be my number one choice for an expansion team.
Can I and listen, this isn't a part of the exercise in any way, shape, or form. Can I push back on this Sean McVay thing for everyone, and not just to you? Like, I'm saying this is like a conversation for everyone. I like Sean McVay. I think he's super innovative. I think he's leading the charge on a lot of stuff that's like new in the NFL, and I think he's really good at that. Who has had an easier time in the NFL than Sean McVay? Like, and I think that like we talk about like what happened with the Jared Goff season where he did take him to the Super Bowl and then ultimately lost. But after they got rid of Jared Goff, he got handed a generational prospect at like quarterback with like Matthew Stafford. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's kind of gotten like like one, he's been vocal about like being like, oh, like I don't know if I want to be coaching football forever. Like I might want to do media. Like that's come up a few times as well. Another thing too is like Sean McVay's deemed a like quarterback whisperer in a way, and this kind of goes back to the Ty Simpson conversation and what they've done in the draft. What quarterback has he whispered at this point? Because the second that Matt Stafford went down one season, they won 4 games. So like I'm trying
Mayfield
to
on 2 days.
so the one drive in in Baker Mayfield's career. So not that I don't love Sean McVay. He's probably he's probably one of the best coaches in the NFL. I just think that like his
We lost him.
sorry, I cut out. Sean McVay's situation in general since entering the NFL has been pretty damn good. I mean, even like the rosters that he has, like there was a point the year that they won the Super Bowl, they had prime Matt Stafford, prime Cooper Kupp. They had prime Aaron Donald, who's probably the best defensive player of our generation, prime Jalen Ramsey. Like there was just that was like a pretty stacked roster. I almost want to see Sean McVay operate with less and see what we can get out of him throughout the course of a season before we like crown him as this guy. And I know that will be met with a ton of backlash because I'm not sitting here saying he's not a great head coach. I think the entire NFL is copying what Sean McVay and the Rams do because of how innovative he is on the offensive side of the football. I just would like to see him do more with less before people start to like really crown him as the way that they do.
I mean, I don't think that there's a better option that I could take at number 2 overall than a guy that is.
This wasn't.
I know. I'm just pleading
my pick at all.
I know that. Yeah. I know. I'm just pleading my case where it's like this guy is one of the best coaches in the NFL and has a Super Bowl. If you saw the rest of my list, it only makes sense for this guy to be either pick 1 or pick 2. Him and Shanahan were my 1 and 2.
What did you think of that statement that I said though?
I think it's totally
is there any validity to it, or you think I'm like bonkers?
I think he did a lot with Jared Goff. I think that holds a good amount of value. I think that still being a playoff,
Jared Goff has been
damn
good without.
But he's also too. But he also had. I mean, don't even get me started on Ben Johnson. He's had Ben Johnson, but what I was going to say is he's not old. The one thing that I was hesitant was the fact that he already did come out at one point and say like he didn't know how long he wanted to be coaching. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
And that was that's fair. I think if you're looking to build a franchise, like you're trying to find a guy that's going to coach for 15 years. Wants to be a head coach for like the next 15 years. And I don't think that that's Sean McVay. I think he probably retires within the next 10 years, maybe even less. So I think that piece of it is fair, but a guy that has had this much success, that has won a Super Bowl, that still has plenty of coaching left in him, I think is more than okay to have in my 1 and 2 spot.
Hey, one pushback here, and then we can move on. I'm looking at Jared Goff's stats. Jared Goff has been playing way better since he's left Los Angeles. Just something to. Well,
you don't even want to hear what I'm going to say about Ben Johnson. So
I'm just saying something that I want to touch on is that Jared Goff was given up on by Sean McVay, the quote unquote quarterback whisperer, but he's playing his best football without him there. But hey, maybe that's a conversation for another day. Number 2 on my list, and this is another one that I think people will hate, but I think it's the most logical answer, and that's Matt LaFleur.
I knew you were going to pick him.
He's 76-40-1. He's 3-6 in the playoffs. We haven't seen that playoff success that we'd like to see. 3 NFC title berths, 3 NFC titles, 6 playoff berths in his time as a head coach. I mean, the Packers stink. The Packers every single year, like, have this have maybe the most like mismatch type of team on offense and defense who aren't that good. He came in immediately and had Aaron Rodgers win back-to-back MVPs when he started to switch the offensive scheme and got pretty much the best years out of Aaron Rodgers before he was like on a downslope. LaFleur came in, Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs, and now he's turned Jordan Love into like literally one of the league's top quarterbacks as well. And I just think what he's been able to do with the rosters, again, it's just in a tough NFC North, always being able to squeak into the playoffs, even though everybody is fighting for that. And he's able, and we've watched him do it. I think even last year is a good example of this, like having Malik Willis come in for a stretch of games and still being able to pull off wins against some of the league's top teams. I just think that he is like a superior head coach. I think he gets way too much hate. And I mean, he's young, an offensive guy. And I think that he's like fiery and like has like a ton of respect from his players. And we've watched him now revive Aaron Rodgers' career and turn Jordan Love into what he's turned into. And that's somebody who I would want on my roster to be able to like really nurture the quarterback position. So the two guys that I've taken up to this point is Shanahan and LaFleur. And I feel like it's two guys who have shown that like they're able to like do like pretty much like get the most out of multiple different quarterbacks and get them like their base level offense is always going to be pretty good. And that's what I'm really trying to get out of this. And then if you insert a quarterback with some like real talent, I feel like that you like the sky's the limit for what they could possibly do on offense. Especially we talked about it when I ranked the top 10 quarterbacks this past year. They had the number 2 passing offense in the entire NFL, and their wide receiving core is not impressive at all. So my second pick, I'm going to go with Matt LaFleur.
I feel like the biggest like bullet point for validity is the games that LaFleur has coached with Malik Willis playing quarterback. I think that's like the most impressive part of his coaching acumen to me, because we're about to see Malik Willis go down to Miami and be the quarterback there, and it's just going to be an absolute mess. And he basically sold the Dolphins. I mean, he got Malik Willis paid is ultimately what it came down to. And good for Malik Willis. I'm glad he's getting an opportunity to start. I'm glad he's getting generational wealth for him and his family. But leaving the LaFleur system is probably not going to bode well, especially when Jeff Haley is your head coach. So
Halfley, whatever his name is.
Halfley, whatever. With my second pick for
Todd
the
Bowles.
2020 Kevin Stefanski. No, the 2026 expansion team draft. I'm taking Ben Johnson. I have spoken very highly of Ben Johnson for however many years on this podcast as an offensive coordinator. I know he only has 1 year as a head coach, but he turned Caleb Williams wasn't incredible by any means last year, but I think the Ben Johnson effect helped Caleb Williams play better and look better than what he actually did last year. And I think that's something to grow on as an offense. I think there's plenty of room for growth as a head coach, but I liked what I saw in the 1 year as a head coach, and I'd be willing to attach my name to him if I'm starting from scratch right now. And one of my other things that I've always talked about is I want an offensive-minded head coach. I think that's extremely important, even though my third option is not that. But I think that a guy like Ben Johnson, a young guy, he's had proven success running an offense. He had a really good year 1 in Chicago. I really like him as a head coach, and I think he.
I was going to have pushback on this, but really the pushback's on Caleb Williams, because I didn't think what Ben Johnson was doing was bad last year. I thought what Caleb Williams was doing was bad last year, because really it took Caleb Williams until the last 6 minutes of every single game to be able to have a shot. But I thought the play designs were there. I thought everything looked really well. I just thought it came down to Caleb, like just not being able to operate the offense at all. And really what it turned into was Ben Johnson having to like switch on the fly pretty much, and they
Yeah,
were a very dominant run team. I mean, DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai looked like gods
they
in
did.
that run scheme, and really it was like it was at they were at times like, yes, Caleb Williams made plays, but if Caleb Williams was just locked in the entire game, they might have blown
Correct.
teams out, honestly. So I'm with you on the Ben Johnson pick. I feel like it's a safe name to attach, a safe person to attach your name to.
I think I got a bar for you. Ben Johnson made that offense paint by color, and Caleb Williams was colorblind, and that's why it
Yeah.
didn't look that great.
Yeah, I completely. I don't even know what that even means, but I'm with you.
Like he made it very clear. Like I feel like he does a very good job of making things simple and making things simple for an offense, but complex for a defense that puts stress on them and makes it for guys to get like scheme to open very easily. And we saw how good that offense looked in Detroit with Jared Goff because he was a very pure pocket passer, and that's not what Caleb Williams is, and that's the type of offense that Ben Johnson runs. So I think that if Caleb Williams gets to a position where he's a little bit more comfortable, it looks better in Chicago. But I think the offensive scheme and play calling and whatnot is all very well put together in the Ben Johnson offense. And so I will happily attach my name to that pick.
Love it. So I have my last pick now.
Yep.
My last pick, I'm going to take Mike McDonald with the Seattle Seahawks. 24-10, 3-0 in the playoffs this last year, won a Super Bowl, won the NFC Championship, won playoff berth. And really what it comes down to is I personally think that the offensive minded head coach is a little overrated, honestly, in a sense. And I think that's why I think that like the McVay, the Shanahan and LaFleur picks, people would argue that they're offensive guys, but I also think that they are like the definition of culture guys as well. And I think that like what Mike McDonald brings to the table from like a culture perspective and like what he's able to do on the defensive side of the football is like equal to what like Sean McVay brings to the table on like the offensive side of the football. And really, I think the feather in his cap, obviously everybody's going to sit here and talk about like the Super Bowl run this year and how dominant they were. Really, the feather in the cap moment was last year they win 10 games. He knew Geno Smith wasn't his quarterback. They move off of Geno Smith at that time and bring in Sam Darnold, which every single person criticized, including us. And because it was like, is that really an upgrade? We don't know. You just have a guy that won 10 games. Then you have Ryan Grubb, who automatically they knew that that wasn't the guy who they wanted to have as their offensive coordinator. The style of offense wasn't what Mike McDonald wanted attached to his team. So they fire a guy who won 10 games this season before. Yeah. And I think a lot of people wouldn't have done that. And brought in Kubiak, did his thing, and then obviously go on this like crazy run. I just think that like he's 37 years old, he's young, he's already won a Super Bowl, and obviously this can fall off quick. Things have seemed to fall off quick in the NFL. I mean, you look at somebody like Nick Sirianni, for example, where like people were like really high on him, and then like all of a sudden like it falls off really quick. Could this happen with Mike McDonald? Potentially, but since he's coming to the NFL, his defenses have been consistently in the top 3. And I think that this guy could have some like standing power in the NFL for a long time. So with my third pick, I'm going to go Mike McDonald. He was almost my first pick.
So I pivoted. I had, so my first 5 picks have all been
your big board.
Have all been gone. They've all been taken. I had McVay at 1. I had Shanahan at 2. I actually had Mike McDonald, at 3. I had Ben Johnson at 4. I had LaFleur at 5. And so I pivoted onto Ben Johnson last second. Pause. But I love Mike McDonald. I think that he's going to be a great coach in general for the foreseeable future. I think he's just like a perfect fit in Seattle. Like he's just a very like locked in guy. Like we're gonna play tough football and we're just gonna get this shit done. And that's what you saw from Seattle this entire season. He had a vision for how they wanted to run their offense, how they wanted to run their defense, and they pretty much executed it perfectly. And we saw that play out throughout the year, led to a Super Bowl. Rest is history. With that being said, I'm going to stick.
Pick.
Yeah, my last pick. I said it was going to be a defensive guy, but you took my guy. So my third pick, no. Liam Cohen, another guy with not a ton of head coaching experience. But again, if I'm looking for somebody for the long-term solution to my franchise, and I already picked a guy with 1 year experience at Ben Johnson at head coach. I don't see an issue putting Liam Cohen in that same boat as well. He completely turned around Trevor Lawrence. He led the Jacksonville Jaguars to the most successful season that they've had in how many years? And I think he's another guy that, since Blake Bortles, what was that, 2009?
I don't think like 2016, dude.
I don't know. I don't remember. For some reason, 2009 was in my head, like when they beat the Steelers in the playoffs to go to the AFC Championship. That for some reason that was attached to 2009 in my head, but I know that's not right. But yeah, I'm taking Liam Cohen. He completely fixed Trevor Lawrence, put together his best season in a year where who thought that Trevor Lawrence needed to prove it more than us? Liam Cohen was able to right that ship. I thought they looked great on offense. They looked very solid on defense. There's probably still some things that they need to work on as a unit, but I really liked what he did in Jacksonville, and that leaves me a lot of promise for the foreseeable future for those guys. And he has the same type of success as an offensive coordinator as Ben Johnson, where he was able to lead successful offenses in that OC spot. So I like Liam Cohen. That's probably going to be a relatively hot take, but if I'm okay with picking Ben Johnson, I don't see why I wouldn't be okay with picking Liam Cohen.
I don't hate that pick, honestly, at all.
I was explaining it to the haters because I had a feeling that you wouldn't hate it, but
I think it's aggressive, but I don't hate it.
It is aggressive, but that's where I'm headed. I'm in that mindset of like, if I'm okay taking Ben Johnson with 1 year experience as a head coach, what difference does it make if I'm taking Liam Cohen? I think that's just equally as aggressive.
Some notable names that I think that you could have pivoted to at this spot.
Let me hear it.
Mike Vrabel.
Okay.
Jim Harbaugh. Andy Reid.
I'm not taking either one of those guys.
Dan Campbell. Sean Payton.
I had both of them in my list as well.
That is probably the end of the list.
My pushback is I wanted a coach that is calling plays, whether it be offense or defense. I don't think Dan Campbell does that, although he brings a great culture, which is extremely important. Harbaugh doesn't do that, although he brings a great culture, and he's on the older side. Not a long-term guy that I would want, that I think would end up coaching in my franchise for the foreseeable future. I'm thinking like 15 years.
Yeah, that's fair.
Andy Reid's going to retire literally after this football season.
I hope.
So I don't want him. And Mike Vrabel, I just hate.
You hate him until the situation, but I'm not talking about that. So that's it, though. That is our draft of the expansion draft of who we would take as our head coaches.